Welcome everybody to this subcommittee on the 22nd of May. We're here to consider an application for a variation to a premises licence. Could I ask you please to elect a chair?
I propose Andrew Cross as chair.
I second Andrew Cross.
Thank you very much. I accept. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the meeting. Thank you very much. My name is Andrew Cross. We'll start off briefly with some short introductions, so I'll be chairing. With us on the panel,
Jill Tessera, local councillor for Warndon and Elbury Park.
Sue Smith, local councillor for Lower Wick and Pitmaston.
and then for the applicant and also who is also accompanying or representing, please. Sorry, could you just...
First, and Anna Merishescu. Anna Merishescu.
Also in the room.
For the tape, Councillor Linden and Ward Councillor for this area.
Good morning, I'm Nikki Jones. I'm a licensing officer for Worcestershire Regulatory Services and I'm going to be presenting the report today.
And I'm Charlotte Pigeon. I'm the legal advisor to the committee today.
Thank you. So, presentations to this subcommittee are not given under oath. However, I should like to remind all parties that the highest standards are expected and any deviation from these high standards could possibly influence any decision of the subcommittee. This is a public meeting and members of the public and press are permitted to report on proceedings. Reporting includes filming, photographing, making an audio recording and providing commentary on proceedings. Please note that this meeting is recorded and live streamed. These recordings are published on the relevant meeting pages of the Council's website, and by choosing to attend this public meeting, you are deemed to have given your consent to being filmed or recorded and for any footage to be broadcast or published. If the fire alarm sounds, it's not a test. The premises must be evacuated immediately. Do not spend time collecting personal belongings. All emergency escape routes are clearly signed. Once you have left the building, the assembly point is the High Street, opposite the Guildhall. Members and other speakers are reminded to use their microphones when speaking. Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest before we go further?
Yes, Chair. I'd like to declare that Lynn is my group leader, but that will not make any difference to the deliberations that we make today.
Yes, I'd also like to say that Lynn is my group leader, but I've got an open mind and it won't make any influence on me.
Thank you very much. Now, for the applicant and licence holders, you may be represented by a legal representative at your own expense or by a councillor. We see you have a lady with you. Are you satisfied that you are... Do you confirm that you are satisfied with this procedure for this meeting?
Anna is the manager, so she's not a legal representative, just to make that clear.
Ah, so you're representing yourself, but you're here as the manager to attend.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry, may I just double check? Manager of
the venue.
Of the venue as was or as will be?
Currently and ongoing.
So, yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. All parties may speak for a maximum of 10 minutes at Chair's discretion. That can be extended to make representations to this subcommittee. And the key point is that if an extension is agreed, all parties will have equal time. And if I could ask Charlotte to just indicate when 10 minutes is up, please, because that would be very helpful. Thank you very much. So if we start off with our licensing officer's report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Right, so we're here today for the application of a variation of a premises licence. So we're here to consider and determine the application in respect of 15 New Street, Worcester. On the 8th of March 2024, an application was received from Rise Lux Limited for variation of the premises licence in respect of 2215 New Street, Worcester. The application contained all the correct documentation and has been advertised correctly. A copy of the application is attached at Appendix 1. Members should be aware that the premises currently holds a premises licence issued by the council, a copy of which is attached at Appendix 2. The current licence authorises licensable activities for late night refreshment on Monday to Saturday from 11 p.m. until midnight, late night refreshment on a Sunday from 11 p.m. until 11:30 p.m, sale of alcohol Monday to Saturday from 10 in the morning until midnight on the premises, and sale of alcohol on a Sunday from midday until 11:30 on the premises. The applicant is applying for the following variations to the existing licence: to include the playing of recorded music every day from 7 in the morning until 3 the following morning, change of sale of alcohol times to every day from 7 in the morning until 3 the following morning, change of sale of alcohol from on the premises to on and off the premises, and change of opening hours to every day from 7 until 3 the following morning. The premises was previously known as Be the Change Hospitality, and the applicant seeks to make these changes with the opening of the new premises under the new name of 22. All of the responsible authorities have been consulted on the application and no representations have been received. A representation was, however, received from Councillor Denham of Cathedral Ward objecting to the variation of the application on the grounds of prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, public nuisance and the protection of children from harm. A copy of the representation is attached at Appendix 3. During the consultation period, the police did not object, however they did request for conditions to be added to the licence. These have been agreed with the applicant and are attached at Appendix 4. Also, in response to the public notice and during the consultation period, 2 representations have been received from the public. Copies of these representations are attached at Appendix 5. In response to these representations, the applicant submitted a statement of which has been provided to the representees, and a copy of this statement is attached at Appendix 6. So there are some local policy considerations. The subcommittee should have regard to the council statement of licensing policy under the Licensing Act 2003. Members should know that the premises is within the area specified in the licensing policy as a cumulative impact zone, and that consequently a special policy relating to the licensing of premises within the cumulative impact zone applies. This special policy is set out in Chapter 12 of the Statement of Licensing Policy. And this special policy requires any application for the variation of an existing licence which would add to the cumulative impact in the cumulative impact zone will normally be refused unless the applicant is able to show to the subcommittee's satisfaction that the licensable activities which are being applied for will not add to the impact. A bit on the legal implications. The subcommittee is obliged to determine the application with a view to the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm. In making the decision, the subcommittee is obliged to have regard under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003 and the Council's own statement licensing policy. They must also have regard to the representations. The subcommittee must take such of the steps as it considers appropriate, whereby grant the application is requested, modify the conditions of the licence by altering or omitting or adding to them, or reject the application in whole or part. The subcommittee is asked to note that it may not modify the conditions or reject the whole or part of the application merely because it considers it desirable to do so. It must actually be appropriate in order to promote the licensing objectives. Therefore, the decision is for the subcommittee to consider and determine the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, members of the panel, have you questions for the officer, please? I don't at this time. Thank you. Applicant, do you have any questions for the officer at this time? No. Okay. And our public speaker, Lynn.
Thank you very much. I've just got one relation to the cumulative impact zone. So this is already a licensed premises. The fact of that sort of large extension of hours, is that a relevant consideration that actually, you know, it is increasing the cumulative impact within the zone? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Obviously, you know, it is for, you know, the cumulative impact zone is there provisions for businesses that operate vertical drinking up until midnight and 6 a.m. It's down to the applicant really to prove, you know, as I said, it's a refusal first of all, but it's down to the applicant to prove that how they are going to meet those are the licensable objectives, really. So yeah, does that make sense? Thank you.
Thank you. Have we any other parties to this hearing who might wish to have any questions of our officer? I don't see any, so we'll move on then to the applicant and licence holder. If you'd like to speak in support of the application, please. This is your opportunity. Thank you.
So we've already submitted a statement, and then just in addition to that, I think it's important to say that with the licence already in place, the prevention of crime and disorder objectives we're already adhering to. Just because we're looking at additional hours doesn't mean that we then wouldn't, if that makes sense. And then, yeah, the comments on the CIZ, if people are already in our premises at 12 o'clock or up to 12 and they've not left, that means they're going to continue likely in another venue. So from our point of view, I don't think it's a case of because we close at 12 they're going to go home. Necessarily, they're going to go to another venue which could be on New Street. I don't think so, because they're just their points. I think that's.
Should we address traffic and
Yeah, that is the CIZ. I think we just welcome any questions. Obviously, we're looking to work with the council and work with the neighbours. I think that's the main reason that we're here, to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, and thank you for engaging with the process openly as well. So, happy to move to questions now. First of all, by members of the subcommittee. So, open up to questions.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask you particularly about Purple Flag. Are you currently part of that scheme within the city?
We have been in touch with the bid, and we are looking to actively work with them to get engaged with supporting that best we can.
So you currently are open as a venue until midnight, yes?
Yeah.
But you haven't previously thought to be part of that engagement. Did nobody communicate with you about it?
We have communicated with Worcesterbid. We have had meetings with them, and we're in the process of joining their kind of cooperative of venues in the city centre.
Could I ask what is it that stopped you doing it already? Because many businesses are signed up to it.
There's nothing stopping us. Like I said, we have already been in touch with them and submitted to join them as of May. So as far as I'm concerned, we should already be signed up with them.
This month.
Yeah.
Do you know what the additional requirements will be put upon you by joining? Can you tell me about them?
Sorry. Off the top of my head, we're looking at, strict alcohol serving rules. We're looking at, in general, prevention of harm. So making sure that all of our customers are safe. We're getting engaged with Purple Flag is promoting, ourselves as a local business. We can be in touch with the street pastors, and we have discussed issues with them. Even whilst we were open, they've popped in and we've discussed the noise issues from outside and how they can be prevented. So we have got an open discussion with them at the moment, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you. May I just help sort of qualify that? I guess it would be helpful if you were to say, or to offer a, if I may ask, whether you would offer a firm commitment to joining up. How long does that process take?
Sorry, with respect, Chair, I think that would be difficult to give a firm commitment.
Yeah, so, yes, I mean, we could possibly come back to that later as needed, but a clear indication that you are committed to joining the Purple Flag scheme at this point.
That we familiar, as Anna obviously running the venue, with discussions that have been taking place. I know that Anna has spoken with BID. I'm aware of what happens at the end of New Street with the van that's always stationed there for emergencies and things for people when they're out, and street pastors. But if you've already started the ball rolling with
Yeah,
BID.
we have already started the process. We have tried to reach out to them in order to support us with the application, but sometimes it felt like that was just one-sided, and I understand they're a charity. They've got a lot of venues they support and they look after, but we're definitely actively going to continue pursuing that because it benefits us, and we want to be part of the community of, business owners within Worcester City Centre, and we want to support that process.
Thank you. Do you have any further questions?
I do, but I don't want to hog the floor. Maybe Sue has a...
Sue,
Thank you, Chair. One of the variations is to include off the premises sale of alcohol. Where is this alcohol likely to be consumed? Are people going to go out in the street and drink it after 3 o'clock? That's my worry.
Sole reason for adding that into the variation is that we've partnered with a local brewer in Worcestershire. We're looking at canning their beer, and so that people that do visit Worcester can buy and take away with them. So that would be the sole purpose of taking a sealed, sold product away. The 22 acts as the check-in for Rise Rooms. So we have a lot of guests that will check in at all hours, which is one of the reasons for the amendment, so they can check in after 12 as well. When they are with us, they would be able to take something that's brewed in Worcestershire away with them.
so that would be for Rise Rooms is at number 16, is that right? Next door. Any further questions? Or,
No,
or, no, that's fine.
I've got a further on that. So what would stop somebody buying a bottle of champagne to take out on the street under those conditions?
So we could have terms in place to make those sales during certain hours, which I think would be wise. Obviously, if the concern is somebody has drunk excessively and thinks it's a good idea to purchase something from us at midnight and walk out in the street and open it, that's probably a bad idea to sell all hours. I would have a conversation with Anna and put something in place where the sale of takeaway products made sense and was during certain hours, not late into the night.
Okay, I'm not really sure how that's enforceable, but maybe someone can advise me.
Something. We also do have the responsibility to sell alcohol with people that are, well, not inebriated. So we would make sure that whomever purchases alcohol to consume off the premises is aware of the legal terms, that is not, alcohol consumption is not allowed in the streets, and that is, say, to be consumed off the premises onto, say, another private premise, let's say.
Also, obviously, later into the night, there is always door staff on the door Friday, Saturday, anything like a bank holiday. So if something were sold at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. and they decided to open it and try and walk outside, likewise with a glass, a bottle, a can, they wouldn't be allowed to leave the premises with any of those.
So my understanding, perhaps wrongly, was that your application to have an off-premises licence was to cover your garden space, because this is an addition to the business. Is that correct?
The takeaway aspect of it was really for promoting the beer.
Sorry, you misunderstood. I haven't expressed
okay.
myself well. I don't mean the takeaway aspect of that, but the off-licence aspect, the off-premises licence that you're applying for as part of this. Yeah. I understood that was because of covering sales and your business within the garden space, which I think is new. Is that correct?
Okay, so no, we didn't actually include it because we weren't sure we had the timeline to even have it prepared. So we didn't know exactly how the space we would have, the amount of tables and things like that. So we didn't include it. We have managed to get it ready. If we can today include it, obviously it would make sense rather than doing this a second time.
I need advice on this then. Is this something that would just happen by default at this point?
I'm not sure legally, can we, I don't know. See, it wasn't included because, as far as I'm aware, I think it was under the COVID rules, garden space could be used up until 2025, was it? Yeah, I can't remember the month, but it was up until 2025. We did obviously advise that should they wish to include the garden, after that date, they would have to apply for a variation, but I don't know whether, would that have to be done legally separately, or?
Yes, so because it hasn't been
have to be-
advertised as
Yeah,
part
that's what
of the
I thought.
current
Yeah.
variation, we wouldn't be able to add additional things today that haven't already been applied for.
So can I ask, how are you anticipating the space will be used then? So you won't be serving drinks there or food?
So as far as we're aware, the conversation that we had with Nikki is that we can use it up until that date in 2025. It simply wasn't put in this because we just didn't know if we would have it ready. So if we didn't have it ready, we would have been applying for something that we didn't have, at this.
So I think that's a temporary COVID
Yeah, no, I
rule that's
understand.
been extended, so they wouldn't at this point need that area of space to be licensed. It would be included within their premise licence, but that's a temporary provision.
But nevertheless, what you're applying for is that you would use this space for food and drink up until 3 in the morning, along with the rest of your application.
Well, I think it's just been made clear to me that we're not allowed to do that today.
So what I think he was clarifying, and do correct me if I'm wrong, was that they haven't applied for that in this application because they didn't think the garden would be ready. So
But they haven't applied for offsites, and I thought that covered this.
that wasn't what was intended, I believe. We'd have to look at that, I think, in more detail, because I think there's a bit more discussion to be had about the off sales. I'll ask some questions in a moment, and then hopefully we can clarify what's been applied for.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, I would welcome clarity on how the garden space is planned to be used. I think the key point is whether it's as a smoking space, as in one can carry drinks outside that were previously purchased indoors, or whether they would be sales at the table in the garden, whether that's your intention currently, and also from, up until May 25, or when the rules change. Thank you. I'd like to ask a couple of questions, please. The door with a self-closing capability, can we be sure that the door will not be propped open, for example, in summer? So just that first of all, please.
We have 3 CCTV cameras outside, so retrospectively that could be checked. And obviously the CCTV records for 31 days. In terms of the basic day-to-day running of the company, I think you would agree, Anna, that the staff will be in and out of that garden constantly, especially in the summer or when we know people are outside. I think you've got plans to put a monitor behind the staff area so that it's also constantly monitored from inside.
Aiming to have the CCTV available for the manager on duty to supervise for the outside area, especially when, say, during the day where there's no SIA door supervisor outside, but also the importance of that door closing, especially for noise control, will be thoroughly trained and applied within every team member.
Thank you. And to clarify, we're talking about the rear door at this point into the garden, yes? Thank you. So the staff going in and out constantly, that's on the presumption that sales would be happening outside?
Well, it's because you would have staff members collecting glasses, wiping tables, because people would be sat outside. So as soon as there's one or more people outside, they need to consistently be walking around any part of the venue that's occupied to obviously make sure everyone is happy and taken care of.
Thank you. And the door has a window in it and will retain a window, yes?
That's actually a vent. I think it's just an air vent.
Okay.
If that was a concern, obviously that could be blocked up, but it is I think it's just a vent for ventilation purposes.
Okay. So obviously, this, noise is a concern brought by local residents. We note that the responsible authorities, for example, have been satisfied, but we know there's several residents' concerns documented, and also we'll hear them in a moment. The other question that I have is, if your licence is for closing at 3 AM, what would be your proposal for the last time of sale of alcohol? As in, what sort of drinking up time?
So this is something that has been discussed a lot and has been discussed with staff as we've been taking them on. I think we're getting towards taking about 10 staff on at the moment, and obviously all of those staff bring their own experiences, so we've spoke with them all and said, where do you think, from your experience in Worcester, it would make sense for our venue to close? And they've said you might find that people have moved on by 1 o'clock, by 2 o'clock. So the reason that we've got a you know, the amendment that we have is because we have rebranded and we don't know exactly when it would make financial sense for the company from that respect. So if you said today, okay, you've got until 3, it might be that we have stopped serving by 1, it might be that we've stopped serving by 2. I don't foresee that we would stop serving by 3 with the type of venue that we are.
No,
From the
definitely.
discussions that have taken place.
It wouldn't suit the brand that we're trying to promote, and it wouldn't suit the audience that we're trying to bring in either. Furthermore, the reason why we applied for the 3 o'clock is because we've seen what our neighbours down the street have got in terms of a license, and we are just thought we were competitive with that. But I don't think a 3 o'clock stop serving of alcohol would be in place.
Wouldn't be
constantly the norm.
The norm, I think, for things like, I don't know, I'm going to say bank holidays, but maybe not even bank holidays on New Year's Eve. It could be a once, twice a year where if we had the licence till 2 and we found that we, as a business, it was always stopped at 2, we would then have the ability to, if someone came and said, okay, you're not shutting the doors until 3, we'd like another drink, we can serve them a drink. They're already within our venue. And that's what I touched on earlier with the CIZ. If that person wants another drink and our competition has a licence till 3, a few doors down, they're going to leave our venue and just walk into another one a few doors up.
Thank you. So you're saying it would not be the norm, the 3 a.m, but you'd like the flexibility to keep that 3 a.m. Would it be a significant? Do you feel it would be a significant harm to your business if this were brought forward to say 1 or 2 p.m, 1 or 2 a.m?
This is something that from those discussions we've had with staff and with Anna, we've come to the decision that we feel 2 would not harm the company financially, and we could continue to employ as we have and grow. So that 2 would be the answer.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Yes, please. Can you tell us how many other premises around you do have a 3 a.m. licence and how close they are to you?
Bottles of Botanican.
Yeah, definitely. Big Hello, I think, have the 3 a.m. as well.
Yeah, so we believe it's 3. Those 3 are all very close to each other, and they are approximately, the closest one is approximately 100 metres. 100 metres.
Even less.
Bottles would be the closest.
Could I also ask you, are you planning to have air conditioning available in the building, or do you have it?
So when the building was taken on, they had 3 air conditioning units. 2 were redundant, beyond repair, so they were removed. The 3rd one was broken while decoration was happening. So the line is still in place, and we've already been invoiced for that to be replaced. So that is that's imminent. It would be May or June that it's put in.
Just to be clear then, you're saying there will be air conditioning throughout the whole premises, so even though there were 3 units before, there's going to be, I don't know what impact that has, I'm not a heating engineer.
Yeah, neither are we, and I think because of that, that line is in place, we've made the decision to get that one in and see what impact it has before then saying, okay, actually we may need a 2nd, we may need a 3rd, we may need a 4th. We want to see, does it keep the building cool during the summer by having 1? If it doesn't, we would simply put more in.
May I ask where those units would be located? I mean, the fans, etc., would be outside.
Yeah, so historically they've been outside. They were, if you have a look at these pictures we've submitted, they were located on the where you can see a green fence and a white the rear door, which is the white door. That wall on the right, they were located there. We've taken them further away from our neighbours and put them on what is a flat roof towards our building.
So they were hard mounted to the wall, hard to see. So on the right here, that's where they were, and they're now being located on top of the flat roof.
So if you look above the door, and then if you imagine over to the right, that's where they've been repositioned.
Okay, and the number 16 is this building here? No.
So that's Nash's building. That's the closest part to us.
Yep.
Yeah. 16 is, if you look at the picture of the tables with the, so you can see it here actually, can't you, if I hold it up? With the white wall behind.
Yep.
So that's with our back to 16.
Quite confusing to see from just the photographs. A sort of plan view would be helpful, but I'll take advice. But thank you, Jill.
Can I just ask you, the ambient music that you are wanting to play, do you play any music at all at the moment? It wasn't quite clear.
We do.
But then you stop it at a certain time. So you want to extend that time. Is that music currently played outside, or will it be played outside?
No, it hasn't. And I guess in terms of will it be played outside, that's a decision that management would take with whoever were to come in and propose they would play. And I guess there's a few things there. You know, one, do they have enough space? Two, what are they playing and how loud is that? Because everyone would be different.
Confused now because I was thinking it was recorded music and that's what you've asked for. So that's no band coming in, is it? I don't think.
Live music. So police have suggested that we have, if there is any music, say any speakers outside in the outside area, that they will be brought in or not be played after 11 p.m. So that's what we're going with. There'll be no performances outside in our patio area.
At all after 11.
At the moment, there is no music played outside. Is that right? Because you're not using the space. Is that true?
In the space, but no music has been played outside.
But you want to change that to play up until 11 p.m.
So we would play recorded music, say on one speaker at a time, outside before 11 p.m. Yes, but that again is at an ambient level, and that is just to carry through the atmosphere and ambient that we promote indoors, outdoors, so it does feel like an extension of the space.
Is that happening now or not?
It has happened during some weekends, but we are very, very wary of the aspect of that. So during the week, that does not happen at the moment.
May I just check that my understanding is correct at this point? So that the playing of ambient music until 11 o'clock is not regulated. Is that indoors only, or does that also include outdoors? Please.
I think in this circumstance it would include outdoors as well, but I can clarify. Sorry, till 11, that the permitted recorded music is the 8 a.m. till 11 p.m.
So if the intention is that the music would not be played outdoors after 11 p.m,
That's not part of the application.
then that's, yeah, so that the only playing of recorded music would be indoors after 11, is what you're saying at the moment. Thank you. Sorry, there's a lot of detail to get right in this, and there's a bit of a moving feast about sort of who, what and where. I think that satisfied the questions I had noted. Are there any other questions from members?
No further questions. Jill's just dealt with the question I would have asked.
Yep, that was the last one on my list as well. That's grand. Thank you. So, yes, I think our next step is to ask Lynn, our public representation or member representation.
Sorry to interrupt, Chair. Would I just be able to ask some questions of the applicant before
Yes,
we
of
move on
course.
to the next section, if that's
Thank
okay,
you.
please? Sorry. I'm conscious you're not represented, so I was hoping we could try and focus what's actually been applied for, if possible. So there's a bit of correspondence, and I know you've agreed with the police to reduce some of what you've asked for. So can I just check that for members' benefit we've got the right information? So I think you've referred to any day of the week starting your alcohol sales at 7 a.m. Is that still current?
So the reason why we've applied for that is because we're looking at providing a breakfast for the neighbouring hotel, the neighbouring rooms. So that's what we applied for that. That doesn't mean that alcohol would be served during those times, but that it's also to include someone having, well, it's to include having someone on the premises from that time to say set up or serve any coffees for our say early risers.
If I can just add to that, because we've got that agreement with the neighbouring property for breakfast, which isn't yet in place, but that's within our business plan. If someone is having breakfast and they want something like Bucks Fizz, we can serve it. That's why it's from 7 every day.
And then, so in terms of the end in times for service of alcohol, you've confirmed with, I think, is it the police, that you were happy for Sunday and Thursday evenings to close at midnight, and then it was just Friday and Saturdays that you wanted the 3 a.m, but bearing in mind that the from 11 p.m, you wouldn't be using the garden. That we'll come on to that in a moment about the application. Is that correct?
That's correct, with just the addition that any public holiday, including bank holidays, we would be able to trade beyond 12 o'clock.
Okay. Just making a note, and then I've got more questions, I'm afraid, so just bear with me. And could you outline for members what the current use of the premises is, and tied to that, whether you've had any complaints in relation to noise, antisocial behaviour, please?
So, easy answer to the last question is no, we haven't had any complaints. People that have come into the venue have given us great feedback, and I think it's run well since, over the last few weeks. Can you just repeat the first question?
And sorry, just sort of outlining the current or recent use of the property. Obviously, you've highlighted how it's going to change, but just so that members can understand what you've got at the moment against the sort of product you're going to be offering going forward.
So we've attempted to, and I think succeeded in opening up an early 1900 style bar and eatery, which we wanted to, we wanted to create something different for people in Worcester and visiting Worcester. We have plans to partner with Nextdoor to offer breakfast, to offer check-in for those rooms. We have plans to open up the breakfast to residents in Worcester as well. think that's
We're supporting other local businesses as well, as we have partnered with the local pizza freaks. So they have over one weekend brought in their products to promote to our customers. And we're looking to outsource products like that in the future in order to support other local businesses and work together. And just again to provide that in a different environment for the people of Worcester, which so far they have thoroughly enjoyed. The feedback we've been receiving is a lot of, this is very different, this is what we needed, and that was the intent. So we're looking to continue that and continue supporting local artists, other local businesses as well.
We are in discussions with Jack's in Reindeer Court and Chester's, again, to collaborate on food. We have plans to open our own kitchen on the first floor, but it really all comes down to what is possible, and having the extension here helps us on that path of being financially sound to grow on the foundation that we now have.
And sorry, I think just a final question, if you don't mind. Have you made use of any of the temporary event notice procedure? So that you apply just, you know, we're having a New Year's Eve party, we want additional hours. Have you made use of any of those?
At the moment, we haven't, no.
No, okay. Thank you, Chair.
We have one more question, please.
But just based on what you've just answered, I've read within the papers that you are already an eatery, but you have no kitchen.
I've seen a lot of successful businesses partner on food because of high costs of running and maintaining a kitchen, staff, food product. So we made the decision that we've got a phased approach, with step one being successful with collaborating, and that also gives us the ability to, one, work with local businesses, and two, see what customers are enjoying by having different cuisine in the building. Then obviously beyond that, we're able to then set up a new kitchen from scratch that works around what we found our customers are enjoying.
I can see why that makes sense as a business, but in terms of the licensing side, if the business doesn't currently have a kitchen and wants to operate it later in the future and has their own kitchen, that's adding to some sort of cumulative effect.
I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what they're saying is they're still serving the food to customers, they're just not cooking it on site.
No, I know that, but if you've got a kitchen with an extractor fan going, which they currently don't have, then, and it's very close to where people live, I think that's a difference. I don't know if that's something that is what we're considering today or not, because it was put down as an eatery, which I assume it's already a restaurant, and therefore any complaints that might have come in, you would hear about them, because they don't have those, and that's not possible. That's why I've asked the question.
Interpreted that slightly. That building has had a kitchen which backs onto Nash's for circa 30 years, and their extractor was probably within 1 metre of this building. So if you look at that picture there, that's part of their building. The extractor came out just above the small parapet wall that you can see. So it was extremely close. That's now being removed.
Still not sure about the future then with that aspect of it, whether that's even relevant. It may not be.
I think it would only be relevant in terms of the public nuisance, but I think we can only consider the application that's in front of us today based on the business as is today. And of course, we have the mechanism to review any licence should the responsible authorities be concerned, for example, in the case of noise nuisance.
Okay, is this something, well maybe I'll take it into the close-up.
late night refreshments, so that would be hot drinks and food. We haven't applied to extend that at all. So that would still remain as is until 11:30. So for future reference, maybe.
Lynn, would you like to speak, please?
Thank you very much. So yes, I have got some questions. We've heard kind of about your aspirations to and your expanded business plan. Did you have any contact with the neighbouring residents or with local councillors in developing those plans or before putting in this licence variation?
Yeah, sorry, I forget his name, but the gentleman sat behind you, I had a phone call with, and we did have a few failed attempts to speak with the charity. We managed to speak with the caretaker. We invited her into the building. She walked around inside and outside. She then passed me a phone number. I made attempts to speak to the person that she recommended I spoke to, but I didn't receive a call back.
But that was after you put in this licence application. You didn't have any conversations when you took over the business or in terms of your plans before you put in an application to be open until 3 a.m. every day?
I had already met the caretaker before, so we had some form of a relationship. She was aware that we'd taken over the building. We put the amendment in and we knew we had, was it 28 days?
Yeah.
The 28 days, so we thought that was ample time to be able to have conversations. We didn't foresee that that would fail.
Okay, thank you. How long you took over the building? You took over a business that had closed down. You took over these premises. So how long have you actually been operating within the current licence?
So I tried to relaunch and failed to relaunch the brand that was there before. So that was unfortunate. I was aware of what it meant to Worcester in terms of it was the only vegan restaurant I'm aware of at the time, or the only vegan restaurant of size. I thought that it was a good idea to do that. There was a lot of history with that company that I was unaware of, and the company struggled and failed. So it took a long time for me to become comfortable with making another financial commitment and risk to relaunching it under a different brand. We spent a lot of time researching what could work and what Worcester didn't have, and we thought would add value to people in Worcester, whether it was breakfast, lunch, dinner, a drink in the evening. So relaunched, and our launch was start of May.
Start of May. was
The start of May under this brand.
So you've only been operating a business out of those premises 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks?
Just to make it clear, we're the same limited company. So they operated it, I think, since February 2021. It then obviously changed hands. It was relaunched and run by me for a period of, I think, something like 5 or 6 months before it failed. Then the real, research took place to make sure that this second life, if you like, was given its best shot. We had a soft launch before the official launch, which was
End of March.
the end of March.
And we ran that soft launch in order to get feedback from the public. So because we're trying to build a space where people can come in and feel comfortable and have a pleasant time, we've opened our doors in order for them to come in and kind of give any feedback or any input, which has been overall positive, but everything that we have taken everything on, and we are constantly taking feedback from the public to make sure that we are serving them right.
Okay, so the current business model that you're rolling out, wanting to roll out, you would agree is very different to a vegan cafe?
Well, in terms of the target audience, it's different that we serve more than one type of cuisine or vegan cuisine. They and Saffron's for 30 years served food and drinks. We are serving food and drinks. So in that respect, we the same venue with the same space that is serving food and drink. We have branded ourselves Saffron's and Be The Change branded themselves. And yeah, we're three different brands in the same space serving food and drink.
Thank you. Have you had any acoustic advice at any point in taking over the business and developing this new business model?
We have, because on the ground floor, the only party wall we share is with 16 New Street, that obviously has guests in. So we're extremely mindful of noise, and we weren't in a position where we could just put speakers around our venue and then it obviously wake up guests next door. Saffron's had speakers around the venue on the ground floor and the first floor. We redecorated and improved things across the board, which included those. So when we took advice, we were given information on products that had acoustic ratings to make sure that noise couldn't travel through to 16 New Street.
And that's good to know that you have had some professional advice on it. So did they also look at potential noise in the garden, potential noise going in the other direction to the other residents, and also air conditioning is notoriously noisy. Has that been looked at all?
So the air conditioning, like we covered earlier, there were 3 units that were much closer for decades to where they are now. So we've actually taken them away from the neighbours, pretty much as far possible as we can do. And they're much, much quieter, the newer units, than the older units. Sorry, can you just confirm what the other questions were?
About noise in the garden, in that outside space.
We're mindful that Nash's is there. In terms of guests for 16, it's clearly promoted that that space is there. So if a guest comes to stay, they're already aware that the space is there, but that building has already been soundproofed, and that was done about 4 years ago. So they've got acoustic glazing and things like that at the back of the building. As we said, we haven't had any noise complaints over the past end of March.
Yeah.
What we can do, if it was deemed necessary, and you know, we could box in effectively the area that is this part if it was required. But if you look at this picture here, that's the only table space that we have, and between the table and Nash's there's a wall that's over 3 metres high. Then there's another space and there's another fenced area in part, and the rest is another wall over 3 metres high.
I would like to add that also upon speaking to the police representative and one of the representatives of Worcester Bid, as they were walking past, we have discussed the back door being on a closer, and they both agreed that it would be sufficient noise kind of control for late evenings and daytime, even with the music.
Okay, I mean, there is still concern about, you know, the level of outside noise, because walls don't necessarily stop it. You know, sound can travel upwards, and when people have had several drinks, voices rise, ambient music to still be heard can get turned up, you know, beyond conversation when people are talking, celebrating, drinking.
Levels are set with speakers, they wouldn't be turned up. So whether we had one person in the garden or we had 10 people, bearing in mind it's a very small space, we're not going to say, okay, there's more people in the garden, we're going to turn the level of the speakers up. That would never happen.
We also will have clear signage to make any customers aware of our neighbouring properties and to be respectful and mindful of the sound levels they put out in order to protect the rest of the public.
Thank you. I mean, it's good to hear that you've taken steps to protect the neighbours who are only going to be staying overnight. So for your Airbnb, you've put measures in place for your paying customers. The vulnerable residents next door in the almshouses have not had that investment and that consideration, which is kind of, you know, why we're here, why you've had the information. Being open until 3 a.m. So at the moment, in your very recent opening of the business, you haven't opened beyond midnight. Yeah. So you'd agree, in fact, from what you've said, the clientele that would be there until 3 a.m. is different?
No, it's just simply a case of when we get to 12, we've got to say, okay, everybody now needs to leave. We're not allowed to serve anymore. It doesn't serve anyone then being in the premises. They've not all then decided, okay, we've been asked to leave, we're going to go home. They're simply going to go to another venue. Okay, some of them might go home, but if they were going to, they would anyway. So all that's happening is they're going to, more than likely, the number of venues they have around them stay on New Streets. So for us, we're saying that we've made this investment into the premises, they're within the premises, we would like them to be able to stay and not leave and go to our competition down the road.
But you have asked to be open until 3 a.m. every day.
Yeah. Don't know your name. That's been Charlotte's confirmed that has now been amended. We've actually clarified we're asking for something else now.
So all they've asked for is, let me just refer to my list again. It would be until midnight, Sunday to Thursday, and Friday and Saturday is the 3 a.m. Pardon? And bank holiday. I mean, there's exemptions for certain occasions, but yeah, thanks.
Thank you for that clarification. Obviously, it's difficult when there's sort of to know when there's changes. Just kind of final questions. In your statement, the customers we attract are reflective of our company and staff being kind and diligent to our neighbours. You are a very new business in this branded iteration as 22. I mean, kind of what evidence is there behind that statement, or what guarantee? Because, you know,
Control of who we employ, and I think that does reflect. So when Anna's been building the team, it's not a case of, okay, anyone's welcome to come and join our team. We're building a team which is highly trained, respectful, diligent. Anna's been rolling the training out. If they're trained on making sure the doors kept on a closure and not propped open, things like that are part of the training, it's followed through. Equally, if they were to find someone that was overly noisy in the garden, they would have been trained on how to deal with that and whether to involve security if necessary, and things like that. Have you got anything to add to that?
During our busiest times of trade, which is the weekend, we always have a door person on, an SIA, you know, a qualified door supervisor. So they would know according to our brand, and they would know our standards of clientele to sort of not allow any people in that would potentially cause any excessive noise or any further disturbance.
Thank you. Am I right in thinking we don't have any witnesses in support of the application present? Anyone else to ask? And any representatives wishing to make representations to this committee? No further present. So,
Sorry, Chair, did you still want to make your full representation?
I mean, it's up to you, Chair. You know, I put in an objection, which obviously, you know, you've all had chance to read. If I could just say a few words, because
yes, of
obviously
course,
there is...
Coming to that, yep. Yes, Lynn, as councillor representing the area, please do talk. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, obviously, there's more information in front of the committee today than I had was available to me when I put in the objection, and I know you've had a very sort of full statement from Worcester Municipal Charities, who manage the almshouses next door. So yeah, no, I am the councillor representing those residents, you know, and they are vulnerable elderly residents with a warden. So no, that is warden controlled accommodation that's been in place for a very long time. There is a huge difference between, you know, a vegan cafe versus a nightclub, and to all intents and purposes, you know, to be open from 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. The original application was every day. To the layperson, that's...
Sorry, may I just interrupt? Am I right in interrupting this point to say the application is not for a nightclub? That's correct. So I just need to correct the terminology there, if I may, please. But please carry on.
Sorry, I mean, I don't know the technical definition of a nightclub. A late night drinking establishment, is that the correct terminology?
Yep, bar and eatery with ambient music, as I understand.
It is a very different business model. The Worcester City Centre is far more residential than many people realise and many businesses realise. And you know, this is not about stifling business. It is about a reasonable balance with residential amenity and the potential for antisocial behaviour, the potential for nuisance. And, you know, outdoor spaces, noise, travels, and the difficulty is that once a licence is agreed, and if there are not appropriate conditions placed upon it, there is permissiveness for the business, you know, and to be open every Friday night, every Saturday night into the morning till 3 a.m. with noise, with drinking, with potentially antisocial behaviour, right next door to vulnerable residents is a serious concern. I mean, I'm grateful for the modification in terms of the requested hours, that's helpful, and what the agreement with the police is also helpful. I think there still remain concerns about high risk of nuisance for the residents on both sides. And on one side of the premises, it is paying customers who may be, you know, coming on a night out, sleeping and going off again. On the other side is vulnerable people who are living there 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone present like to make any further information, comments, or provide more information relevant, appropriate for this case?
I think we can just make a statement. I've lived in Worcester Centre myself, so has Anna. We're as mindful as anyone else of the neighbours. I've not simply taken a premises on and thought, okay, we can do what we want. Definitely not opened a nightclub. If we were to make excessive noise, which were to be of concern to Nash's, it would equally destroy the company in 16 New Street, which is a sister company owned by myself. So I'm not going to cannibalise one company for the sake of another.
Thank you.
Okay.
Moving on, and you've made some fair points, the public speaker has made some fair points, and we have got the same concerns, which is why we are committed to continue working with Worcester Bid and with the police to prevent any further nuisance in the CIZ area, and you know, promote a safe and positive kind of socializing environment down New Street. I'd also like to add that our goal is to add to Worcester City Centre and what it has to offer. We are aiming to build the economy. We are offering a lot of opportunities to all sorts of people. We are paying fair wages, and we want to give more opportunity to them in, you know, even offering extended working hours. So we have all the best intentions, and we'll continue to work with all of the responsible authorities to follow through with that.
Thank you.
Something's just occurred to me. The staff that will be working during those Friday, Saturday nights into the early hours of the morning, do you have any provision to get them home safely?
Upon discussion with them, from the interview stage, we do discuss how they would get to and from work, and we do ensure that they have got a safe path to return home. Most of them live within the city centre, and they are within walking distance. Anyone that has got to drive into work, they have got safe parking space over at say Cornmarket, or even the multi-storey if they work during the day. So these things are being discussed from the interview stages to make sure that they have got a safe space to get to and from work.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions at this stage?
May Chair, could I just clarify something with the officer, please? Nikki, I'm just trying to clarify this point about the garden, because the application that's currently applied for includes the off sales and the on sales, but I think, do correct me if I'm wrong, that the COVID rules have treated the gardens as on premises. Is that correct? We can clarify, but I think I'm just trying to establish then, so in terms of the variation, has the garden been included as premise for the purpose of this variation?
No, it hasn't.
No, okay, thank you.
Just it earlier, but in the document here that I've got on page 4, on 5.4 it says that you've got these points A, B, C, grant as requested, modify, reject. We're obviously discussing the garden today and we've got these images. Is that not part of it where the committee has the ability to say, well, yes, we can do that to save another hearing?
So I'm just trying to clarify exactly what was applied for, so we will need to double check some of the points in deliberation, but effectively that's the committee's power to, what we'd usually use that for would be to sort of reduce it. That's really what that's aimed at, rather than widening it. But we are going to go away and check exactly what was referred to in the application and what site was used.
On B at the end there, it does say or adding to them. I know you're talking about
that's the
reducing
conditions, though, that is, rather than the application. Right. Yeah, sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Clarity is always good, is always welcome. Any more questions before we move to a closing statement? So I know this may feel like repetition. There's a lot of information to take on board, but this is your opportunity to make a closing statement as we progress. Thank you.
Just in brief then, obviously we've massively reduced the hours by confirming today what we're looking for. And I think for us as a venue, and a venue that's been running, seeing our customers leave at 12 and then seeing them in another venue is not doing something against your policy that you're trying to promote with the CIZ. They're simply in another venue. So, if you deem it necessary, like you touched on earlier, would we still be able to achieve what we wanted to by, say, closing at 2 and not 3? That would be something that, again, just to confirm, today we've said that is something that we can work with.
Thank you. So our officer representing legal services may at this point provide any relevant legal advice and may ask any questions of any party for clarification.
Thank you, Chair. So just a couple of things to consider. As with all of these applications, our licensing objectives are paramount. You have to consider our statement of licensing policy, our section 182 guidance, which are both in front of you. As we've heard at the start of this hearing, this is in the cumulative impact area, which means the starting point is refusal unless we're satisfied that the application would not add to the cumulative impact in the area. You must consider all the relevant applications that you've heard today and all the evidence and representations in front of you. And then you must decide to either grant the application as requested, modify the conditions of the licence by altering, omitting or adding to them, or reject the application in whole or in part. And I would just add that you shouldn't add conditions just because it is desirable to do so. It should be because they are proportionate and it's appropriate in the promotion of the licensing objectives. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So at this point, we will have an adjournment to enable the subcommittees to deliberate in private, and all parties, with the exception of members of the subcommittee, legal advisor and committee administrators, will leave the room. And we may recall all parties to seek clarification on any point. There's quite a lot of detail, quite a lot of mobile data. And then, if recalled, parties will then withdraw again, and the Chair may depart from this procedure if I consider it in the interest of justice to do so, but before doing so, will invite the views of the parties present and consider any representations that may be made. So if you'd like to just take a break, please. Sorry.
I'm really sorry. I've just remembered that I forgot to say before I spoke that to make absolutely clear, you know, although these are colleagues that I know, we've absolutely had no discussion, no conversation about this application at any point. So no, there has been no influence from me in that. No, this is about representing my residents and the overall interests of the city centre. So apologies, I forgot to say that at the beginning.
Thank you. Good to hear. It had also been addressed in the declarations of interest at the start, but always good to be clear. Thank you very much. So if we just take a break, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We had a lot of detail to work through. The panel have reached a decision, a consensus decision, and we are very mindful about the cumulative impact zone and that this location is particularly sensitive also with vulnerable neighbours. Our policy states that we can only grant approval or an application if this does not add to the cumulative impact. Now, the panel is minded to grant the application as varied in today's hearing. In particular, the applicants offer to bring forward the closing time on Fridays and Saturdays to 2 AM, subject to the following conditions. So 1, that the garden be closed as per existing hours at midnight every day except Sundays, when that would be an 11:30 PM close. Number 2, that there would be no music in the garden from 11 PM onwards on any day. Number 3, that the police recommended conditions as detailed in Appendix 4 and agreed to by the applicant in writing within that be met. Number 4, that the off-sale of alcohol cease at 11 PM on any day. Number 5, that there be signage prominently displayed at the rear entrance and at the front entrance and in the rear garden for patrons to be quiet when outside the premises. For clarification, our determination today has not considered bank holidays, as they were not detailed on the application form on pages 13 and 17, so boxes F and J. For such bank holidays, as desired, you can apply for temporary event notices, but we cannot include them within our determination as they were not on the official paperwork. So I would recommend use of temporary event notices. So that concludes our conditions. And as a final closing, we cannot condition, but we highly recommend, in the interest of public safety, that you obtain Purple Flag accreditation as soon as possible. So that's, as I'm aware, the entirety of our conditions and our recommendation. All in agreement, that's good. And so then we move on to saying that all parties to the hearing will be notified of this panel's decision in writing within 5 working days of the conclusion of the hearing. And any party aggrieved by a decision taken by this panel may appeal against the decision to a magistrate's court within 21 days of being notified of the decision in writing. I hope you agree that today's hearing has been conducted in accordance with the agreed procedure and that you've had a copy of that. So thank you very much for your time, and the meeting currently ends. Thank you.